This Behind the Bloom episode is all about lilies, and it's a companion to episode number 305 of Life in Bloom. RJ and I talk about my grandma Lil. You'll learn how to spread an entire bunch of lilies all over your house. We'll talk to my friend Benno about growing lilies. We'll plant lily bulbs in the garden, make a lily topiary, and create an edible treat with daylilies from the garden. It's all up today on Behind the Bloom. Lilies are one of my favorite cut flowers, and the reason behind that is that lilies offer 2 waves of color and enhance the flower blooming experience. Usually, lilies bloom immediately after cutting. Then as those blooms fade, there's another wave of buds that open up over the next 10 days. It's a great way to have flowers around for a long time. Cal Flowers is a proud sponsor of Behind the Bloom podcast, where flowers and wellness go hand in hand.
Hey, Jay.
How are you, RJ?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We're talking about lilies in bloom today.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited.
I know, it's good.
Yeah.
Our Bloom 365 tip is for opening lilies that are super tight. Now, I don't know if this is necessarily in the 365 book, but it's one of my favorites. So sometimes we would get lilies in for a wedding or something, and they would be really, 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 really tight. If you take that tight lily stem, cut it, and lay it on the table for about 3 hours.
Okay.
Not in water. And then come back, recut it, and put it into the chrysal bulb food. And again, cold water, not hot. The buds are going to open about 3 times faster. And when they open, the pollen's already going to be dusty. So be ready to get that pollen out of there right away.
Okay.
You can pull the pollen immediately as well. But it is a faster way to open them if you need something. And it's really more of like a professional florist trick. When I'm in a house and I'm putting lilies in, I want to watch that whole process and I want to experience it. And lilies are one of the longest lasting products you can purchase at anywhere where you buy flowers, and that they'll open slowly and you have waves of blooms with them too. But I think it's just so interesting that this is a way to speed it up, because florists are always wanting, hurry, faster, faster, faster. How can we get that thing to open up? That's the lily trick.
But if you have like a deadline, if there's like an event or something that you have them for,
Correct.
you need them to open, then you could use that tip.
There was a period of time when Casablanca lilies, well, even stargazer lilies, were the hottest thing on the market, and everybody wanted big bouquets of stargazer lilies or big bouquets of Casablanca lilies, and it was just like you needed them to open faster, and that's not really in a lily's nature. It's like open one, and then the next one will open, and the next one will open, and that's really great for longevity in your home. But if you need a whole bunch of lily blooms for an event, you want to rush it. Cut it, let it sit for 3 hours, then put it into chrysal bulb food, and it'll open much faster. You will notice that there will be more yellowing of leaves because you stressed that flower from moisture, and what you're doing is releasing ethylene. You're letting the blooms release ethylene, and that will sometimes cause the foliage to get a little bit yellow and make those blooms burst open faster, and then also make the pollen get dusty right away.
Okay. I loved just the way you started out talking about your grandma Lily, and you showed your Carnation Joe's pollen picker. Whenever you tie it back to your family, Jay, it's always just like such a good reminder that, like, you know, this is your life.
Yeah, it's true. This week, we filmed our Lily of the Valley episode.
Oh, right.
So look, I have this sitting. Oh, let's see. Gotta get the back to you. There we go. Look at them. They're so pretty. This was also a favorite of my grandma's. She was named after a tiger lily, not an Easter lily. That's important because she was a tiger. She was not, she was not the Placid Easter lily. It's so interesting to me when we were doing this Lily of the Valley episode, how meaningful those flowers are for their fragrance or where they grew. And I think that that's something that my grandparents taught me. I just always remember, it's funny when you think about that. So I was born on my grandma's birthday. We spent a lot of time together. We worked in the same store all the time. She would always say, well, my name is Lily and I was named after a tiger lily. She always had to be very clear about that it was a tiger lily. On their gravestones, there is a carnation and a tiger lily engraved in their stone. And interestingly enough, it's 2 hearts that are intertwined. It has their wedding day is the only date that's on it.
Oh, wow.
And they were like, because that's the most important day. It isn't when we were born or when we died. The most important day was when we met each other and we got married. And so I think that that's a very nice thing too.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because my cousin and I talk a lot about my grandma and grandpa, and my cousin lived with them for a while. She went to college in Fremont, and she was not from Fremont, and so she lived in the upstairs of my grandma and grandpa's house and went to college. She has a completely different relationship with them because she lived with them.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And she was older. It's really funny because like sometimes I'll have to say to her, I'll be like, hey, wait a minute, you're ruining this is my world that I lived in and what they were like with me.
Right.
You know?
It's so interesting. You both can have such different perspectives. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, they would yell at me and I was like, they would yell at you? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, didn't you ever eat? And I was like, my grandpa would make crackers and milk every night. And we would have crackers and milk when I would be over there later. And my parents, but I never stayed overnight at my grandma and grandpa's house.
Oh, no.
My grandma and grandpa didn't like to babysit, but they would watch me for a couple hours.
Okay.
And then I had to go home.
Mm-hmm.
And so if my mom and dad had something going on, I would stay with my grandma and grandpa. And he had this great toy collection that was really, really special, and stuff like that. I was like, did you ever have crackers and milk? And she's like, no. She goes, that's gross. And I was like, no, it wasn't. It was really good. I mean, I loved it, and I was like, he yelled at you? One time my grandpa yelled at me when my mom and dad were out of town, and I took a coat. My mom and dad had just had their ceilings redone. And so they had beams put in to make it look like they had beams, but they weren't really beams.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was like the popcorn ceiling in between. And I shook a Coke and it went off onto the ceiling.
Oh, no.
And stained the ceiling.
Yeah.
And my grandpa was so mad at me. My grandpa wanted to spank me. He was going to take me outside with a belt and spank me.
Mm-hmm.
And I called my mom and dad, and because they were on vacation. My mom said, don't you dare even touch that child. But like my grandpa came over for breakfast every morning too. He would come over and he always had to have his cream poured in the bottom of his cup and then his coffee poured gently thereon. We have a coffee episode coming up, and that is in that show.
Oh, cool.
I wanted my eggs I didn't ever want my eggs to be broken. I wanted to dip my toast in the yolk,
Yeah.
And so one day it was hard and I wouldn't eat it. My grandpa said, and this is another story I love about it, but he said, that little kid is so spoiled. You're just not going to eat that egg and she said, yes, the cream poured in the bottom of your cup and the coffee poured gently thereon. My grandpa was like, okay, well, I better go. So
the apple doesn't fall far.
Yeah. So I mean, so I learned it,
Right,
but
right.
It's just really nice. There's a little bit more of connecting with them. And I think even like we have a little bit about Lily of the Valley being one of my grandma's favorite flowers, but not what she was named after in this show. I just feel like, and the other interesting thing is we have this vase that was Kelly's mom's. And in one of our episodes, she talked about how her mother used to put Lily of the Valley in that vase. So then I was able to put Lily of the Valley in that vase for this episode. You just kind of feel like they're there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, if I was correct and Miss Margot was here, Miss Margot would say, they are there. They're there. They're watching everything. And I believe that they can see all that stuff. And they like that we're keeping the legend alive. Mm-hmm. And I think that my sister says that to me. She goes, you're so good at keeping the legend alive. And all the things that they do. And it's just really important to me. I mean, it's what I grew up with. And so, yeah, it is. It is my life, and it's just what we do. I love that I have his lily pollen picker, too.
It was fun to see it because I've heard you talk about it before, but I don't think I'd seen this episode until we just watched it for this. And so it was fun to actually like see it. After you describing it, I had a picture of what it looked like in my head, and it looked like that, but it was like nice to finally
It was like
actually...
4 feet behind you when you were at our house for lunch.
Oh.
So I could have showed it to you. So when you're here again, just remind me, hey, I want to see this and this and this and this, because it's
I'm gonna bring a
in
list.
all the cupboards and all the stuff, it's all here. So I also have his knife.
Oh, cool.
I like that. And it's sharpened to a point.
Oh, wow.
Because it's been sharpened so much. And he always called it a toad stabber. I know that's a very ugly. Barbara's going to be mad at me for saying that. It's just very pointed. And it was but he would come into the store every day and sharpen his knife on the whetstone, and mine too, before he started his day. So that's also part of it. So lilies around the house.
Yeah. This was cool.
Right. You asked about Ikebana and lilies. Lilies are a chosen flower for Ikebana, as are chrysanthemums and carnations. All 3 of those are ones that get used a lot. But I think what's interesting about lilies is many times a lily will form heaven, earth, and man in its own stem.
Oh, okay.
Chrysanthemum won't do that, and neither will a carnation.
Can you describe what that means exactly?
In that you might have one bud, you might have 3 buds that are in that heaven, earth, and man formation.
Oh, okay.
More than likely, like if you cut a branch off of a lilac tree or off of a viburnum tree, or if you're cutting something that's branching outside, even like off of a tree, most often Mother Nature will grow in a heaven, earth, and man formation. One, heaven, tallest, earth, low at the bottom, and then in the middle is man in between as a mediator between those two. And
wow.
so I think that when you see that, that was what we learned for one whole day when I was in Icanoba school, is how Mother Nature provides the inspiration for Ikebana. That's part of it. And once you see it and once you've identified it, then you realize how often it's there. Because even like I'll pick a weed sometime and be like, oh, heaven, earth, and man. It just happens.
Wow. Cool.
It's part of the process. That's a cool thing. And I think lilies lend themselves well too because they have a very strong, straight stem. Much like a carnation, any singular flower, anything that has that, you can directionally use it to your advantage.
Okay.
So we have tiger lilies in the front yard, and they move. We planted tiger lilies in a spot, and that spot was sunny. It has become shady, and they have moved over to the sunny spot.
Cool.
They have probably moved 10 or 12 feet.
That far? Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, they move.
Wow.
They'll drop their bulbs, and then those bulbs seeds come up a little bit further, and then they'll drop them again, and they'll come up a little bit further. And they have moved from the location where we had them. Even out here, there are lilies that were planted in an area that is now very shady because of this wisteria. They have moved over into the sun, and they moved across a sidewalk. They went under a sidewalk to the other side.
No way. Whoa.
I mean, it's crazy.
That is crazy.
Those are the healthy ones now, and the other ones are kind of, a little smaller, a little not as healthy, and they're just moving to the point where they find the best sun, and they'll look for it. And I think that, that's also part of why we don't manicure, so much, because the yard and the garden, because I want to see what it's going to do.
Right. It's a natural habitat.
We're doing the lawn this year. We're doing their flower lawn. And right now my lawn is very long, and my neighbors are walking by and like, what are you doing? And I have to tell them all. And I'm putting signs out there this week too, because I'm just kind of like, okay, everybody has to know what's going on. But we got permission from the township. We got all that done. I cannot tell you, RJ, how many birds are in my front yard.
Oh, cool.
Because we have not used any pesticides for over probably close to, not close to a year, but we didn't use any in the fall. We didn't use any pre-emergence. We haven't done any of that. We put down all this seed for all of this clover and everything. There are so many birds, so many bunnies, so many pollinators. This morning, I saw my first hummingbird on my lilac bush.
Oh, awesome, Jay.
Right at the window. Exciting. When I was getting my coffee, he was like, "Oh, hey, here's some lilacs."
I still haven't seen one yet this year.
Oh, yeah. I was shocked, and I was like,
exciting.
I couldn't wait to tell you, because I was like, yeah. I don't mean any judgment on anyone, because you do what you want to do with your own yard. That's okay. And that's basically what I'm trying to say is I don't want to use petroleum-based machinery in my yard anymore. I don't want to put chemicals into the soil of my yard. I don't want to trim things. I don't want to be putting excess water in the ground, because water is so precious for us. I want more animals living there. I want more birds living there. I want more bugs living there. I want all that stuff that comes with it. The one thing that doesn't come with that is a manicured lawn. Everybody in my neighborhood has beautiful lawns. I can appreciate a beautiful lawn. Ours is going to be beautiful in a different way. And I know it takes patience. I know it takes understanding. But my friend Troy, my neighbor Troy, who I love, he was just like, when somebody's like, why aren't you cutting your lawn? He's like, it's none of your business. I was like, well, I wish it was that easy.
Yeah.
But it's not. I just want to be kind, and I want to let him know. And it's interesting now, because like my neighbor's like, I'm watching how this goes, because I think I want to do this.
Oh, there you go.
And I'm just thinking about the money that I'm saving in chemicals, gasoline, those things that aren't going in there and endangering things. I'm trying to wrap my head around, because I don't like rabbits.
Oh, right.
Because they chew off everything. This is going to be part of this. The other morning I looked out, there were 9 rabbits in my front yard.
Wow, that's a lot. Yeah.
And I'm like, hi. I'm like, well, okay, I got to embrace what I'm saying, because it's a safe place now.
Right.
It's a safe place. And there's probably baby bunnies out there in nests that I can't see because everything's getting longer.
Right, right.
And it's like, and it's a safe spot.
Yeah.
When I'm looking at the birds, though, I think of you all the time because I'm just thinking, there are so many birds in this yard right now.
It's spring migration right now too, so there's so many birds that are just coming through that'll probably only be here for like a 2-week window and then are gonna keep moving. And when they see natural plants like what you have out there, that's like a refuge for them now. So that's one more spot that they can stop and get food along the way or shelter or whatever.
I was talking to the Earthwise people. The Earthwise people were saying, that you lay down all that seed and it's all native seeds.
Oh, yeah.
So they're like, hey, lunch.
Right.
I think I'm going to seed again this year.
Oh, yeah.
Just to continue to promote it. But like right now, the clover's coming out there and stuff.
Oh, cool.
That's also part of it too. And again, okay, now we digress about all this again. But I think, that the lilies are out there. All of those things. I see so many, the big giant bees.
Oh, cool.
Those are all over the yard. And they told me that I'm going to probably have 6,000 more bees in my yard.
Wow.
And what were my kids going to be playing in it? And I was like, I don't have any kids. My dogs are back here. They're okay back here, and we still have pollinators and bees, and George likes to see the big bees. She's like she looks at him. She's just like, look at that big bee. What is it doing? But I mean, and she's not going to bite at it or anything. And, but I think that's also a really good thing. So I will put the link down below for Earthwise for anybody who's Earthwise Seed Company. I'm trying to get somebody from that company to come speak on the show about what we're doing.
Oh, cool.
And I think that would be a really good thing, too, because it's just once you look at their thing online, it fills up your feed on social media. But I like it because I'm learning more from those great educational videos that they're putting out there and telling me more about what I'm doing. But it's just like, I don't have a mower. I don't own one. I had a service. Well, those guys don't have to come here anymore. What's interesting, too, is a lot of my neighbors have tons of dandelions. I have maybe one or two.
Oh, okay.
So interesting.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff going on out there. We need to do a whole podcast about this.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do, a whole podcast
let's do it.
about. So let's do that. Okay.
Okay.
So our visit with Benno.
Yeah.
Benno Dobe was one of my most wonderful friends. He was a huge fan of the show. He ran Holland America Flowers. And those of you who watch the show notice that Holland America Flowers was our closed caption sponsor. Benno and his wife, Klazina, ran that. They came to America from Holland with their 3 kids.
Oh, wow.
And their kids were like young, just before being teenagers. And they moved to California and they had a Cutlass Supreme, and he was selling bulbs for bulb companies and driving up and down the coast.
Wow.
And then they bought their own property. They had property in Woodland, Washington, where they grew tulips and bulb products. And then they had another place in Santa Maria where they had lilies and stuff. And that's where we were. It was at the Santa Maria location.
Okay.
Well, so we'll fast forward here before we get too far into this. But Klazina passed away from cancer.
Oh.
And Klazina was very interesting because she was a life coach.
Oh, wow.
And she was really, really respected for that life coaching ability. And she was like the rudder for the whole family.
Oh.
She kept everybody even keel and stuff. And they have one son, Ben. Ben is huge. He's one of the biggest people I've ever met. He's a very tall man.
Yeah.
And I feel like dwarfed when I'm around him. Their daughter, Nicolette, and they both worked in the farms with him. And then they had another son who's an accountant. And I didn't know him very well, but we went to both of their farms. We have an episode from Woodland, Washington with them later on. And then we were here at this one. And they picked this property because the soil was so magical. And there's this part where Benno picks up the soil.
Yeah.
And then he brushes it off. And because there's just enough sand content, there's nothing on his hands when he's done.
Yeah.
And that's the perfect soil for lilies.
Okay. And it was similar to the soil that was back
exactly
home.
The
said,
same.
Right? Okay.
Exactly the same soil that they have in Amsterdam.
Wow. Cool.
And adjacent to the ocean, they're adjacent to the sea there. So that was all very common. He was at this farm and they used to do open houses. His granddaughters would dress in Dutch costumes and would have their little Dutch bunnies, live bunnies.
Cool.
And we would go there for tours and go around there. And Benno and I just hit it off. And he loved our show. He loved it. And anything he could do to help our show, he was like, this is miraculous. What you're doing is so incredibly helpful, so incredibly wonderful. And so then we even went, it was really great. We went to dinner with him when we were in Woodland, Washington. He took us to his favorite steakhouse, and it was like this quintessential steakhouse from the 70s. It was fabulous.
Cool.
I was sitting next to Benno, and he goes, so this is going to be interesting because, there's a girl here, and she's our favorite waitress, and she watches your show all the time. She's a big fan. And I was like,
Cool.
okay. And so then Benno gave his order, and I couldn't really see her because of where I was sitting, and he was sitting next to me. I couldn't really see her. And then I said, and she said, so you, sir? And I said, and she was down at the end taking the order, for the whole table. And she's like, wait a minute, are you Jay Schwanke? She said, I recognize your voice from your TV show.
Awesome.
Benno thought that was the coolest thing in the whole world. It was just really, really, really great. And Benno was he was always so generous with us. And this spring, Benno passed away.
Oh, no.
I think that I will say this, and I hope that Nicolette and Ben and their other son would agree with me. I think Benno died of a broken heart.
Oh.
I think he just missed Klazina so much.
Oh, no.
That was just so hard for him. He was a wonderful guy, and it's just really nice that he's in this show, and
Yeah.
I love that his spirit lives on, and he was famous in Woodland, Washington. Him and Klazina were famous up there. There's streets named after them and everything, and I think that's really good. That's how I knew him, and I was just proud to have him on this show, and it was so great. I always used to joke about Benno because I always felt like he would do videos telling like what was going on with his business, and would be sitting at a desk with a piece of paper. Because of his accent, I always felt like he was like a Bond villain, because he was just telling me, this is what we're going to do, and this is going to be the thing, and we're going to do it, and everyone will like it, and I was just like, it was so wonderful. When we were visiting in Woodland, Washington, and this is my favorite story about Benno, we're walking through these fields, and the crew's all with me, so it's Keith and Chris and Dennis and Dean, and we're all walking around through there, and they go, hey, what is this? And there was this big thing that was about the size of a small house, and it was sitting out on the property, and it had a big giant funnel on the top of it that was huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was all rusty, and it looked very much like, something you would see on Star Wars or on a planet on Star Wars or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
And they said, hey, Benno, what's that? And he said, oh, that's my weather machine. And everybody stopped dead in their tracks, and he said, your what? And he said, my weather machine. I use it to control the weather. And we were all like, what? So in Woodland, Washington, when they first started, they grew all of their tulips out of doors. Everything was a field crop.
Oh, wow.
And so the most devastating thing to a field crop is hail. And so he said that when it was forecast for hail, I would start up the machine, and the machine sent out sonic waves, and those sonic waves would stop the hail instantly.
What?
For a 3-mile radius.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and it would create a sonic boom.
That's incredible.
That would stop it. And the guys were like, turn it on.
Yeah.
Turn it on.
Yes.
And he's like, we can't. It breaks people's windows. And I was just like, oh my God. So yeah, but the guys all took pictures by the weather machine. Cool. And that was just and I was like, he can control the weather. He is a Bond villain. But yeah, so the weather machine.
That's incredible.
So yeah, and it got sold for scrap metal, I think. When they closed down the farms and stuff.
Yeah.
So when he passed away, they decided to close down the farms, and his son now works for Wayfax. Nicolette is doing lifestyle coaching like her mom, and then the other son is still an accountant. So that's all. Wow. It's all kind of stayed in the family. They would produce 200 to 300,000 flower stems a week.
Per week. Wow.
A week.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's amazing. And the interesting thing about lilies is when you're cutting them, they're not open.
Mm-hmm.
They cut them not open. So if you see a crop of lilies in a greenhouse or at a flower farm that's all in bloom, they're in big trouble.
Oh.
Because you can't ship a lily open. It will get crushed and broken. So you want to cut those lilies just like a day or two before they're going to open, and then ship them. And when they get to their location, then allow them to go into water and start to open.
Okay.
And so that's what you want to do is do it that way. So, I mean, that's the other thing in it. So it's like, when you're filming lilies, people are always like, well, it wasn't very pretty. Nope. We have a show coming up with my friend Robin Vanderschaff, who tells us how the lily bulbs come from Amsterdam through the Panama Canal and up to California and the journey that they make to bloom. And that's in season 8. And so that's coming up in a couple weeks now for those who have premieres in your area.
Oh, that sounds super cool. I'm really interested in that.
Benno was always like, it's not pretty to look at lilies in the greenhouse. And it's not. And he's like, that's why it's so important that you know what lily you plant.
Oh,
because if you don't plant that lily, you're not going to see what it looks like,
gosh.
So you gotta keep track of what goes in what bed, and what that lily looks like.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times there'll be a picture at the end so that you know that that's the crop that you're dealing with.
Okay.
When it comes to flowers lasting as long as possible, I always choose Kreisel Flower Food. Flowers benefit from food and keeping the water clean. In my experience, Kreisel Flower Food does the best job. It's formulated by scientists. My favorite product is Kreisel Professional 3. Kreisel Flower Food products are available at their website, kreiselflowerfood.com. That's CHRYSAL flowerfood.com. And be sure to use our discount code, UBLOOM10, for 10% off your purchase. Support the joy of flowers. The Life in Bloom Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to flower education and inspiring a love of flowers in everyone. The foundation helps fund the production of Jay Schwanke's Life in Bloom on public television, making it possible for viewers across the country to enjoy the beauty and benefits of flowers. The foundation also provides free flower education to high schools, colleges, and floriculture programs through ubloom.com, helping students and future florists bloom in their own careers. Your donation in any amount makes a difference. Plus, all contributions are 100% tax deductible. If you'd like to help us continue sharing the power of flowers, visit the lifeinbloomfoundation.org to donate today. Thank you for your support. Okay, so the reason that I asked him about the secret trick was we're very sensitive to exposing things that might be a trade secret.
Oh, right.
There are many people who have or do things that are something that they don't want other people to know because it might be their claim to fame. I'm going to hearken back to our color show when I told you about Peter van der Werken and how he lost control of the thing he had patented to make the rainbow roses.
Right. People's livelihood.
And people will steal it because people are horrible. And so I wanted to make sure that it wasn't that I wasn't sharing a secret. He was so generous and so kind, and he was like, well, it was a secret for a long time, but then everybody kind of found out. Afterwards, he was telling me, and I was like, well, that's okay. And I said, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't giving away something that would destroy your business,
right?
And make it harder for you. You run across these people in this business, especially in the flower business, who raise cut flowers, who are an expert at what they do. And it's because they love it so much and they're so passionate about it that they have invested their entire life into creating this thing right. We have been to many of them. We've been to Peter Court roses. We've been to Euphoria flowers. We've been to Oregon flowers. We've been to Holland, America. We've had Lane on the show. We have a show premiering with Renee Van Wingerden and his son Ivor. All of these people have that in common. They are an expert and passionate about a thing, and they do it better than anyone else. And I think it's interesting because sometimes I see stuff, and I think social media has caused this, and it's one of the things I dislike about social media is that people are like, oh, I found out this. Oh, look at this thing I came up with. You didn't come up with that thing. There were people doing it 60 years ago, but you finally figured it out. Good for you. I got you, but you didn't come up with it. That's why I'm always very cautious about saying, I discovered this. I don't think there's anything I've ever discovered. I think everything I've done is stolen. I promise you. I think that's true. I just think that sometimes people put their heart and soul, their blood, their sweat, their tears into something. Belittling it or sharing it on social media when maybe it's not your business to do so is not necessarily helpful. There's this thing out right now about tulips, and this company did all these different things with the tulips. They poked a pin in them. They put penny in the water. They did this stuff. And the last one was we put flower food in the water. Okay, they didn't put the right flower food in the water. They were tulips. They didn't put bulb food in the water. They didn't put Chrysal Professional 3 in the water. They didn't do that. They just put something else in the water that they considered to be that, and it's not the appropriate one. And then they talked about how poorly flower food performed.
What?
And it's just like, you need to be informed from the beginning.
Right.
If you're going to set up this thing and present it as research, then do it right to start with. And that's what really makes me, I mean, it's really hard to see Jay angry, but that makes me angry when people are stupid and act like they're informed. And I don't like that at all. And so, this is just one of those. That's why I love this episode. That's why I love the episode coming up with Renee. That's why I love the episode with Robin Vanderschaft, because we're talking to experts about what they do and what they love more than anything else in the whole world. This is a prime example how proud Benno was when I was interviewing him.
Oh, that's so
because
cool.
He was proud.
Yeah.
It wasn't pride. He was just proud of what he'd created.
Yeah.
And what he'd done. And when we walked the tulip fields, I have an episode where I walked the tulip fields with him and we talked about the tulips. He was just so proud. He was proud to share what he'd created.
That's awesome.
That's what my show's about. That is why we create Life in Bloom, is to show that kindness and show that respect to people who are doing amazing things. I think that's the biggest part about it. So, yeah, I'll get off my soapbox now.
Well, no, I just wanted to piggyback off of that, though, Jay, and say that's why people love you and love your show. It's because you find these people that are legit and are titans of what they do and are respectful. And I mean, it's like, I don't know, everyone knows that they can tune in and watch something and know that it's for real. And it's not some TikTok trend or somebody that's look at me. Like, you find these legitimate people and give them a platform and allow them to show what they've done. And it's just incredible. So, yeah.
And right back at you, because we have a show coming up with you and what you do. We have a show coming up with Mo Stein about how she teaches blind kids to appreciate nature. We have Miss Margot. We have those people, and it's very important to me. And I will tell you, I get all kinds of letters every week. I want to be on your show. Or how can we partner and make more money? It's not my thing. I don't need to be a snake oil salesman selling something for somebody. I just want to share real people and their kind stories and have people get a moment of comfort and a moment of kindness and a little bit of joy from seeing somebody do something great. And that's all there is to it. I mean, it's really simple. So, yeah. Well, thank you. You're very kind.
Yeah.
Okay. Planting lily bulbs in my yard from California.
Yeah. I thought it was so cool just that, because you brought those back on a trip when you were out there? Is that what you said?
We were actually touring Lane DeVries's farm. It's not Lompoc. I'm not going to remember. Lane will kill me. But, okay, so that was where one of his farms was. And he gave them away and said, you can take these home and plant them. And people were like, well, I live in Florida. And Florida is not a great place to grow lilies because it's just too hot all the time. And so many people gave me their lily bags. They're like, here, you take it. Are they going to work in your yard? Here, you take them. And so I just took them and planted them right out here. And I told Lane the other day, I have your lilies growing in my yard. Sun Valley lilies are still growing in my yard and coming up every year. And that's just a cool thing. They don't need a lot of care. As long as you bury them 4 inches, they're not going to freeze. Nebraska concerns me because I lived there as a kid. We don't have snow cover. And so we are very dry and drought ridden in the winter. And that's not good for lilies. Here we get 80 inches of snow. So that snowpack keeps everything insulated, keeps everything actually warm down 4 inches in the ground and keeps it watered and keeps it all moist for the winter. And that's a really great thing. So it works well for me here. I didn't ever really grow lilies in Nebraska because it didn't really work because they wouldn't winter over well. Here they do great. And they multiply. And they move. And they move around the yard. So there's that. One of the bunches that he gave me is white, and you know how I... However, when we did this episode, it was entirely white. Everything was white. Everything was white in that episode, so that's fine. So that was fun. I did add some green. I added some green viburnum in it. We have that white area, but what's interesting to me is, like, right now the viburnum bushes are in bloom, and they're white too. That's really pretty at night. I get up and let the dogs out at night, and I'll walk out. I just go out in the garden with them just because we have So now we have owls.
Oh, yeah.
We have red-tailed hawks.
It might be because of all the bunnies out in your...
I think so. So
Yeah,
go team. But also I'm worried about the dogs outside at night by themselves, and I'm just like, so I go out with them, but I can see those white flowers at night. And so I'm going to have those white lilies and I'll be able to see those too. I have white bleeding hearts right now too. And so they're
cool.
visible at night because there's some reflective quality even from, what little light there is at night. So that's cool.
Are you coming around on white flowers, Jay? Are you starting to like, no? Okay. It sounded like it for a second.
Although, okay, so I have no less than 15 of these all around the house, and my whole house smells like Lily of the Valley right now.
Oh, cool.
And I love that.
Yeah.
So I went to the farmer's market this weekend, and Franny, the lady that we picked these with, she had them at the market. And I bought 25 bunches of them, and I handed them out to all the vendors.
Oh.
And it proved exactly what I thought. They were like, my grandma had Lily of the Valley. Oh, I used to go to my aunt's house and pick these. Oh, these used to grow around my mother's house. One girl said, my favorite picture of my cat is with the Lily of the Valley in the yard. She was laying in the Lily of the Valley. And I know they're poisonous and that this has nothing to do with that story. But she said, and so then she said, my cat was 17 years old and passed this week. And you don't know what this bouquet means to me because it just reminds me of her.
Oh.
That's what flowers do.
Yeah.
That's what flowers do, and we can channel them into our lives, and that's what they do. And I just loved it. And it was a way for me to support Fran. It was a way for me to support the people who grow stuff for me all year long, and it was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience, and I love it. So yeah. Okay, so I know I'm getting long. Okay, so I'm going to... Okay, daylilies, but you asked me this question. Daylilies are not lilies. They are members of the same family, Hermeriocallis, which is Irameris and red hot pokers or tritoma. They're in that family. Mm-hmm. And so they're native to Asia. They aren't lilies because they grow from a rhizome. They don't grow from a bulb. Oh. Every single part of the ditch lily or daylily is edible. And you can plant about them and forget them. And you don't ever have to worry about them. And they'll spread. We've got them all over this property. And I really want to, because of what we're doing out front, I've got about 80 coming this fall that I'm just going to dot all throughout the yard because they're going to come. They're going to be the size of a bottle cap. Okay. That's how big that start will be, but they're going to end up being a plant that's the size of a bushel basket or bigger.
Okay.
And so wherever I put them, they're going to start to grow together and they love full sun. So it's going to be perfect to put them in there.
The featured flower was the lily.
It's one of the oldest cultivar plants.
Yeah.
The thing about lilies, and this is what I always say, when you're making an arrangement, add your lilies last. Because they're really easy to break. And so if you add them last, you're not trying to push other flowers in around them.
Okay.
And so that's one of my biggest tricks is add your lilies last.
Okay. And I love the lily topiary with rose lilies, Jay. I thought was so cool. And it was interesting because you started off the episode talking about your grandparents and then kind of tie it all together with this. I thought was really special.
It's nice too because we had that little bed of red carnation, then the lilies at the top. And I love this. This is actually an original Fun with Flowers and Jay episode that we picked up for this season. So I'll put a link down below about that too so that people can watch it. And it's just, and again, okay, let me say this. And I'm going to just say this reminder one more time. This coming season 9 is when we're going to have plant-based flower foam featured in our show. This was done back in 2003 and then picked up for this show. So we're still using flower foam here. And that was before Oasis has made all the wonderful advancements that they've made and the improvements that you wanted. So don't come down on the foam. You know, it was just a happenstance. But foam is the way that you would create this. I don't know. There is another way to create this. You could use a cylinder vase, put lily stems around the outside, and then put your flowers in the top. Oh. And that would make a topiary. So there is a way around that. That's a great idea. I'm going to do that on another show.
Oh.
We'll do that on a show. That's a great idea. I love that. Okay, I'm making myself a note. There we go. All right. You watched it be born right here.
Yeah.
Then we did the stuffed daylilies. Okay, so now, very important. You can only do this with daylilies. You can't do it with regular lilies because they're toxic.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And I don't think they're really toxic to humans, but they're toxic to kitties. So that's that. But you keep the lilies in water. You're basically stuffing it. And all I'm going to say is the daylily is a vehicle for the breading and the cheese that is deep fried.
That's what looked tasty was the
everybody says, oh, do you like, fried morels? So I got some morels last week from a friend, and so then I fried them in my uncle's beer batter. Okay, so I will apologize for this too, because I'm going to say something off color. But my uncle would deep fry morels and then bring them into our store on Mother's Day weekend, and they were just so delicious. And my aunt said, he could deep fry dog shit and it would be delicious. And that always just sticks in my mind because it's a vehicle for that. So, I'm just saying that's the stuff we can't say on PBS. But it's just true. And so it's about that goat cheese filling being warmed up in that frying, and then you eat it. And
it was fun to watch you cook them because you got to see them get all crispy. Like watching you actually cook it, you see that process, and it was like, I want to try one of those.
And I believe we use the beer in this too. I'll put the recipe down here. Okay, so my uncle always did beer batter, and that was what I was inspired by. So when I was doing the morel, I called my cousin and I said, hey, what about Uncle Bill's beer batter? And she gave me the recipe, and I said, there's no beer in this. And she said, no, you drink a beer while you make. And I was like, okay, perfect. So that was good. But and then you leave I left the little string on so you could bite it off like a tail.
Oh, yeah.
They don't. So everybody always says, what do they taste like? They don't really taste like anything. They taste like, they don't taste like cauliflower. They don't taste like sweet potatoes. It tastes like that cheese and the breading.
The breading.
And that's
the yummy part. So that's okay.
Yeah. So, it's just a fun ways. And if you can do the same thing with like squash blossoms too, when squash blossoms are available, because those are not lilies too. And again, whenever I've gone to a restaurant and got squash blossoms, it doesn't taste like squash blossoms. It just tastes like breading and stuff.
Yeah. And then the last thing, the vanishing lily pollen trick.
If you get pollen on yourself, or you get it on a napkin, or you get it on your tablecloth, set it in direct sunlight for 3 hours and it vanishes.
Cool.
It is photosensitive. And so what that means is it will just disappear. Now, if you've rubbed it or tried to wipe it off, or if you've gotten your hand oil on it, or if you put some soap on it, it isn't going to work and you're going to have a permanent stain. So don't touch it. And everybody always says, well, you can wipe it off with a tissue, or you could wipe it off with a chenille stem, or you got pipe cleaner. I always call chenille stems, and people don't know what that is. So a pipe cleaner, you can wipe it off with a pipe cleaner. You can do that too, but then place it in the sun too, so that the residue that is still left will disappear. But I learned that from my friend Rocky Politz, who I love and adore, and she's in California, and she was the one who taught me that years ago, and it works like a dream. It's a perfect trick. So it's a perfect way to end this episode. Get rid of the lily pollen, set it in the sun for 3 hours.
Love it.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, thanks, my friend.
Yeah,
thanks for
Jay.
doing Lilies in Bloom.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us this week on Behind the Bloom podcast with Jay Schwanke and RJ Poole. If you loved what you heard, be sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. And share it with a friend to help us spread the joy, one bloom at a time. Thank you for taking the time to slow down with us. And hopefully you left feeling a little lighter and inspired to try something new. Make sure to join us next week for a brand new episode. Thanks for being here with us, Behind the Bloom. Hey, just one more thing. If you love flowers, you've got to check out ubloom.com. It's the online home of Jay Schwanke's Life in Bloom, where you can stream every episode for free. Plus, you'll find Behind the Bloom videos, my blog, show recipes, and so much more. There's also a massive video archive, over 1,800 how-to videos, flower farm documentaries, and even my very first series, JTV. All Life in Bloom episodes, exclusive web content, and farm documentaries are totally free. Just sign up with your email. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there's a paid subscription option that unlocks the full library of how-to videos. Everything from creating bridal bouquets to centerpieces, corsages, and more. Tons of content to explore. You're gonna love it.